And then phone. So they're both on phone?
No, Richard's gonna be on Zoom link and Christy said she was gonna dial in.
Okay.
And Crystal Ross still was unsure, she's just gonna listen to the live stream.
All right.
Thank you.
And then Glenn is out of range.
And so they're both on phone?
No, Richard's gonna be on Zoom link and Christy said she was gonna dial in. And Crystal Ross still was unsure, she's just gonna listen.
Yeah. Now I gotta try to get
Really? Glenn.
I do not know how to use Windows. Yeah, I had it open and now it's not open again. Okay. Okay, welcome to our board meeting. We'll start with our roll call. Bill?
Here.
Ricardo?
Here.
Crystal? Not here. Christy?
Here.
Richard?
Here.
Okay. And so we have a quorum. I'm here and I'll be serving as chairman for tonight. Let's start with our flag salute. Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. We have our agenda presented and I would like to add one more item, and that we have some students here that would like to update us on their high school club activities from the ASB. Yeah, great. So if we could do that after our public comments, I propose that. Otherwise, we have the.
I move to accept the presented agenda with the one addition.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Bill?
Aye.
Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Is he
He's online.
online?
Aye.
Thanks. And Chair votes for. All right, we'll move forward up to the agenda. We have one public comment that has been submitted from Paige Gianella. Come on up, Paige.
Hello, did you guys get a copy of the letter I submitted?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to paraphrase it then, so instead of reading it word for word. And basically, I just wanted to come and first, I wanted to thank our admin because they are proposing a calendar change. And I really am thankful that our admin recognizes the climate of our schools right now because it's very intense. Teachers, including our other teachers, our IAs, and everyone at the school is just working super, super hard and just does not have enough time to do what we need to do. So thank you to them for recognizing it and also coming here to encourage you guys to vote for that calendar change. And that's kind of another issue. But the real reason, or one other reason that I wanted to talk to you today is I just really want open communication between our staff at school and the community and the board. And I'm not sure people really realize what it's like at the school right now. The workload is different than it's ever been. I've been a teacher for a lot of years. I've worked at the primary school as a first grade teacher and a third grade teacher at the intermediate school. And there just is more and more and more piled on. And there's more diversity in our students. In a classroom, you might have kids working at a kindergarten level all the way up to a sixth grade level. And just trying to differentiate and give the kids what we need or what they need, it's really not possible in the time that we are given to plan. And this, sorry, I'm getting choked up because I am very passionate and very emotional about it. The calendar day is great, but that calendar day does not fix the problem. There's a problem with our society and the expectations that are on our teachers. Sorry, let me collect myself a little bit. I just want you guys to recognize what it's like. The amount of time that teachers spend away from their family, at home, at night, at school, in the morning, on the weekends. It's not uncommon for teachers to be working 60-hour+ weeks, and that's wrong. And I don't know how we change it. And the one calendar day is appreciated, but that does not fix what is going on in our schools. And so I just want people to be aware of that and take that into consideration and all the decisions that are made for our school and our school district. And so I guess that's my the biggest reason I wanted to talk to you today, and hopefully some of our communities listening, and hopefully that we all work together to try to make it better for our kids. Because we're not in a good place right now. Our kids are not in a good place and they're not getting what they need. Our teachers are not in a good place. And I think we've got a lot of great people working here, and we just need to get our minds together about how we can improve and how we can make it better. And so basically, that's why I wanted to speak tonight. And I think that there's a lot of other people in our district that maybe feel this way, and I can't speak for them. I haven't worked at the middle school or the high school, and I know they have different issues. And so I just want to encourage our staff to continue to come and talk to the board on a regular basis and tell you what we feel and what it's like, and offer you to ask questions and invite you into our schools. So we can. So that's all I have to say. So thank you for listening.
ASB, but not only are we involved in ASB, we're also involved in Key Club. I am a Key Club Vice President, and Yadira is Key Club Secretary, and we're also involved in MECHA. I am this year's MECHA President as well, and Yadira is Vice President, and we're also involved in Safe Club and FBLA as well. So we also wanted to talk about those clubs as well. So what we've been doing in ASB. So last time we spoke about the Fall Ball and Lavender Week. So Fall Ball was, I think I was pretty successful. It was a really fun event. It was a dance that we did. We weren't able to have our homecoming that time, so we did our Fall Ball. It was a nice thing that we did for our students, and it was just kind of like, trying to get back to normal. So it was really fun to have that. So something else we did was our Lavender Week. So we raised a little over $1,000, which is amazing that we were able to do that in a week. We definitely beat last year and 2 years ago's goal. This is, I think, one of the most money that we've raised so far for cancer, because if you guys don't know, Lavender is in representation of all cancers, because obviously there's multiple cancers affect many people in our community. So some upcoming things that we are gonna do is our Holiday Hope Week. So that is to help families in the community who are struggling, and Mr. Pelias, who is the family outreach coordinator, we're gonna be helping him with this to raise those funds for families in the school district. And if you guys are interested in learning more, we'll be posting about them on our ASB Instagram page. So if you guys have Instagram, you guys can follow us at NMHS_ASB. So next we have MECHA. So MECHA is Movimiento Estudiantil Chicanos de Aztlán. So for those who don't know, it's a Latinx-based club welcoming any student who wishes to join and learn more about the Hispanic and Latinx culture. So things we've done so far are Halloween candy grounds to raise funds for MECHA. We've also done the Milburn's Haunted Manor, and that is also to raise funds for MECHA as well. We've sold stickers that were for the Day of the Dead, and those were for Mr. Pelias' Holiday Hope Week, and we've also done concession stands. So some upcoming things that we have been doing is having meetings for the Baile Folklorico, which is a traditional Mexican dance. And then something else that is also on its way is a giving tree, which we do with MECHA, which provides toys for children. And then it just provides their age, the gender, and toys that they might be interested in having during the holiday season. And then so for Key Club. So what has Key Club been doing? So we've been trying to get more students to join Key Club. We've done concession stands, and we're planning on designing a new design for our Key Club merch. So some upcoming events that we're going to be doing is a cemetery cleanup at the Aurora Community Cemetery on November 13th. And then we're going to have an in-person DCM, which is Division Council meeting at a local food bank in Canby. So that's a division event that we are partnering up with us, which is Division 70 and Division 38, I believe. And something else we'll be doing is the Love Santa with the Woodburn Kiwanis, our sponsor, and Christmas Candygram reindeers. And another thing that we'll be doing for Key Club is the holiday book drive. If you haven't seen the hallways, we have posters out. That is with the Little by Little nonprofit organization by one of our staff, Ms. DeShane. And we're just raising funds and trying to get books donated to give kids so they can read something over the holidays.
And then next up, we have FBLA, which is Future Business Leaders of America. Some stuff that we've done was we helped ASB raise funds for Lavender Week. We did that by selling some buttons, which will be donated to, the funds will be donated to the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation. In FBLA, we've also had some guest speakers attend Google Meets and kind of share their profession with us. So far, we've had Keith Eden, which is an American diplomat, as well as Kale Oblo, who is a New York journalist. Some upcoming stuff that we have for FBLA is we have an OSU business field trip that will be held on December 7th. Next up, we have FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. They attended the national convention in Deanna. They also had 3 members reach the highest American FFA degree, which is something amazing. We also have the SAFE Club, which is students advocating for equity. So far, we've tried to gather our members and discuss ways how we can progress in this club. And, as this is a new club here at the high school, we're trying to get things started for sure. And thank you once again for having us. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks for coming.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
So if community members want to maybe donate, or I saw Mr. Blaze was asking for families to maybe to sponsor a family or something, where can they go for information on that?
So like I said, we'll be having more information that's going to be posted on our ASB Instagram page. So that's how we usually get in contact with the community and spread the word. People repost it on their stories. I know we're going to be doing a Venmo donation. So there's going to be different boxes with different amounts of money that you can donate to, and we'll post the Venmo on there, and people can donate money, and that all that money will go to Mr. Polias. But we can also make sure that we leave like an email, like either one of ours or our advisors. So if people have any questions or are wanting to reach out, we can also talk to Mr. Polias to see if we can get something so people can ask questions, or if they have a certain way they want to donate.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Anybody else have anything?
No.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I will want to mention that our board member, Bill Drop, has helped develop the Safe Group and sponsor it, and you're involved with the Florida, LA, yeah, so there you go.
You guys like actually have time to attend class?
I know, I was wondering that too. Yeah. You got your priorities straight.
Yeah.
Okay, so board communication, November is Native American History Month, and you can learn more about that by going to the ODE website at SB13 Tribal History / Shared History. You recognize that? And I would also like to mention that this week is Veterans Week. I know that we have, there are several of us on school board who have served, and we have lots, I know that we have graduates every year from North Marion that go into the military. And it's kind of a nice tradition that we have here at the school. We have people in our community who have served. And I don't think we can ever say enough about what our veterans have done for us, and the really the privileges we enjoy in this country, thanks to those who have served. So, I'd like to mention that. Moving on to our consent agenda. We had some personnel actions requested. They are highlighted there. There's a lot of, I think it's just a lot of extra duty, mostly positions, and then the minutes.
I'd like to move, we accept the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda as presented. We'll take a roll call for voting on the consent agenda. Bill?
Aye.
Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And chair votes for. I didn't see anything under the superintendent report. Diane, right? Okay. So we'll move now to school operations and teaching and learning, and our director of teaching and learning, Sherry Stroud, will help us with that.
I have 2 things during this section of the meeting, and the first one is just the announcement notice for instructional materials adoption for English language arts this year. So this should look very familiar. This is the 3rd notice we've done in a year, and it follows the same protocols as all the others. So we have a curriculum adoption team convened, and we are looking for parent participation, and communication went out today specifically to the parents for their participation in this very, very important work.
Yes.
Oh, that's Linda. I keep thinking Jillian, it's you. That's Linda behind the scenes. Okay, are we ready to move to the SIA report? It was a challenge to create the SIA report because there was it was very open-ended for us to report on this subject tonight. The board does not need to take any action. This is an annual report to you based on last year. And just as a backdrop and reminder, we all probably remember what last year was like with regard to the pandemic. And so though we had activities scheduled with our SAA funds, many of those activities could not come to fruition due to the pandemic. So this slide, the first slide, just represents the SAA outcomes and strategies that were part of our initial plan, and they look like simple words on a page. There were hours and hours of training behind the construct of those outcomes and strategies. And the more recent plan revision, we kept those exact outcomes and strategies because they still reflect the work of our district. Okay. These were the 4 questions. So Linda and I have been working collaboratively on this because the annual report has a financial basis to it and then 4 narrative questions. So I invite Linda to jump in at any time as we work through this to provide additional input if she deems it necessary. These are the 4 questions, and then the remaining slides are really specific to each one of those questions. There are some themes that resonate throughout each slide when asked to discuss the challenges and the successes. And I'm not going to read these word for word, but the challenges were, we were in the middle of a pandemic. We couldn't hire the staff that we had intended to hire to support social emotional needs of our students. And at the same time, we triumphed in the family engagement activities that we were able to do, and really shifted the narrative from a traditional parent conference format to more a discussion with families. We really learned the value of looking at student assets through funds of knowledge and getting input from our families about what they felt that their child needed to be successful. Though we had great conversations, it was really difficult to be able to assess how the pandemic had really impacted those families so that we could apply resources. We didn't see the children in our schools every day. And so that was a constant concern for how we were addressing their true needs. So I think Linda's moving on with me, and I appreciate that, Linda. On-site community engagement was non-existent last year because health and safety protocols didn't allow for it. But I do feel like we gleaned a lot of good information about the importance of engagement. As a matter of fact, in the spring, we started planning for this current school year. And we did an assessment K-12. Every school participated to kind of clean what was some good things that came out of the year. And at each school, it was identified by our staff that the family engagement was really meaningful and that we wanted to continue in that path. So I think that's a huge success and something we can certainly continue with, and did so during our fall conferences just last week, or a couple of weeks ago now. Through the family engagement activities, it really highlighted and accentuated that we did not have enough Spanish translators to cover the K-12 school, and the importance of communication. So it really underscored the need for a strong communication plan, which required a person to implement that plan, and also the revision had been in the works prior, but underscored the need for a revised website. And it also caused us to reevaluate that a top priority would be to hire a full-time Spanish translator interpreter, which we have now, and I don't even think full-time is enough to meet our needs. But that again is a connection to the needs of for family engagement for our entire community. I think the other piece is we don't truly know the impact of the pandemic on our families. And I think we have evidence today of that through what we see in the classrooms, and Paige has spoken to this earlier. Kids have come back to on-site learning in a different way. And it's really true that the pandemic has impacted families differently. And for students for whom we tried desperately to bridge that digital divide, there are some things with regard to where our community sits that we could never overcome. And that is, we could provide devices and hotspots, but without the bandwidth, we still struggle to serve our entire community. And that is something that we need to continue to work on. Is probably bigger than what we can do, but it's a great need. So opportunity gaps were probably exaggerated through the pandemic. And so that's just something that we need to recognize and continue to work towards. You can read all the words on the printed page. The intent for this report is just to share some of the challenges, some of the triumphs with regard to those 4 questions, and understand that we took the information from last year and in this year's plan, and how we've made some decisions about staffing and hiring of new staff to help support our students in unfinished learning. The problem is we still are in the same place with regard to hiring. We have positions open and we can't fill them.
Well, we have more money.
Well, even if we have money sitting there, we don't have applicants. Linda, is there anything you want to share about this from your vantage point?
I'll echo all the things that Sherry already stated, but you know, the fact that we do have this SIA money and the ability to do some hiring for positions we haven't been able to in the past, and then not to have applicants is sad. It's a need that we have and we can't get the people. And it's this way statewide. I don't know if it's this way throughout the whole United States, but I hear those issues across the state.
So any questions? Did Christy or Richard, do you have any questions?
Well, I guess one question that does linger for me, this Richard, thank you, is whether we understand any more about why we're having such a difficult time filling these vacancies. Does it have to do with the requirements, or is it the location, or is it the working conditions, or is it, you know, all of the above? I guess I'm just trying to get a little better understanding of what we might need to do to get a stronger applicant pool for some of these vacant positions.
Go ahead, Sherry.
On you.
That's okay.
I have some other ideas, but you go ahead.
Okay, well, one of the things that came out in a meeting I was in a week or two ago was that statewide, we're down over 17,000 students in enrollment. And of those, there's 13,000 homeschooled K-8 students. Those students, if they're homeschooled, need a parent at home to help. So I would say we've lost lots of adults to the workforce because of the homeschooling. So it's hard to find the people. I know teachers who have decided to not teach and just homeschool their children. So it's a situation, like I said, across the board. And I do think that's just one small piece of the puzzle. Sherry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know people who are in positions to hire and, you know, businesses, and they're experiencing the same thing. That applicants are just not applying for the open positions. People are just not returning back to the workforce for whatever reason. The other piece that may be at play for us where we're located is that larger districts can, you know, hire the available workforce for full-time contracts as substitutes because they have so many schools. They know that they will always have a position for them. And then frankly, they can offer more than us. But I really think this is not just specific to education, but it's across the board with our workforce not being willing to return to work yet.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. And, you know, I guess I wonder, if compensation is part of the equation, and I suspect it is, at least in the private sector, and education, I'm sure it's not too different, whether some of these dollars could be used to try to close that gap also.
Linda, you want to speak to that?
We do see a lot of companies, school districts and corporations and the like giving sign-on bonuses. The meeting I referred to, the gentleman from Gresham Barlow said, how can I compete for a bus driver when trucking companies, which requires the same licensing pretty much, are offering $15,000 bonuses and $85,000 a year? How can I compete? And we're all running into those sorts of things. Now, we could offer a bonus, but that's a one-time thing. We can't pay more than we can sustain. So I think we have to be very, very careful when this funding goes away, which it all is going to with the ESSER and that. We're going to be left with our normal state school fund and our SIA. So I think we have to be careful with how we dole it out. If we have some one-time ideas to get people in, maybe that will work. But we also have to be careful with our staff who have been here and working so hard for years, and what would they get out of it? So I think there's a lot to think about when you talk about those sorts of compensation packages.
Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, you're up next with our audit report fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Tim Gillette. Those board members that have been here for a while have met him many times. Unfortunately, Dan Miley was going to join us, and he has a young child with COVID, so he opted to just take care of home right now. So I'll let Tim go ahead and get started. Let me pull the audit up for you, Tim. Here we go.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Linda. I would say it's great to see everybody again, except that for me, your faces are about 1/8 of an inch high or so, maybe 1/16 of an inch. But I can see you're there, yeah, and I can see you waving. And wow, you've got a pretty snazzy video system going, I will say. And hey, I can add on to those comments about hiring. It is not just school districts, and it is not just North Marion. Finding workers, I won't even say qualified workers, just finding workers is tough from what I read all over the country and for all kinds of businesses. I know it's a challenge for us right now as well. But anyway, to get to the audit, again, I'm going to go pretty quickly because it's my experience that that's what people want. But I'm happy to answer questions or slow down at any time. So really, the first thing I would talk about is page 1, which is the start of the independent auditors report. And really, the good part of that, I mean, we go through everyone's responsibilities and stuff, but we get down to the opinion at the bottom of the page, and the key words there are the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position. So this is now called an unmodified opinion, used to be called a clean opinion. It's the kind you want to get from your auditor. The next page goes into the responsibilities we take on various other parts of the report. There's a section called required supplementary information, which is the management's discussion and analysis, and some schedules mostly about pension and OPEB that we don't express an opinion on, although I will say we do look at them and go through them. And there's also some other supplementary information and the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, or the CFA. And we do say those things are all fairly stated, again, that key phrase, in all material respects in relation to the basic financial statements. And we mentioned that there are a couple of other reports that we will get to, and I will talk about the reporting required by government auditing standards, which is going to be the compliance reporting at the back of this report. And then also there's reporting required by Oregon minimum standards, which we will talk about briefly as well. So the next section of the report is management's discussion and analysis. This is what I always encourage everybody to read this. It puts things in a good context. It gives you some comparative information that the basic financial statements don't have. If you don't want to spend a ton of time reading the whole financial statement, all whatever it is, 50 pages or something, in detail, this is a good place to read and capture the gist of things. The management's discussion and analysis followed by the financial statements themselves. Starts off with the statement of net position. You have a positive net position, which is a good thing. We won't go through each of the financial statements, but there are the statement of net position and the statement of activities, which are done on an accrual basis, essentially like a business might report. Those are followed by the fund statements, which follow. It's close to a cash basis. It really shows compliance with the various requirements of how the money is spent, how the cash is spent. Those statements are followed by the notes, which are considered a part of the basic financial statements. And they go on for pages and pages, but they give you a lot of detail that the numbers can't give you without the words. And again, I'm not going to talk about any of those unless someone has questions about things. There's some very long notes about the pension plans and OPEB. Just go on and on. I guess the last note, I will mention the last note, the subsequent events note. As you all probably know, I'm sure you know, that after year end, the district participated with the Oregon School Board and issued more pension bonds, which is why you're able to have a side account and keep your PERS rates down somewhat. So after the notes, we get into the required supplementary information, the RSI. As I said, it's mostly about pension and OPEB. And I'll say, actually, I will say something about this first RSI schedule. If you can pull that up just a little bit, Linda, you can see the trend here over the last, it's only 8 years. Your covered payroll 8 years ago was 8,000,008. It's now up to 10,000,006, so it's gone up some. But look at your share of the net pension liability for PERS. It was under 4 million, now it's 18 plus million. It just keeps going up, and there's really not much you can do about that. And it's let's say a concern for lots of people. Let's see, I'm not going to talk about any of the other RSI schedules unless, again, you want to. And that will take me back to the single audit section or the compliance section. There's 2 reports from us in the compliance section. They look sort of similar, but they have slightly different purposes. The first one is our report on internal control over financial reporting in accordance with government audit standards. Now, there is something to report here. There is a finding, it's number 2021-001, that we consider to be a significant deficiency. So I'll talk about that more in a minute. There are kind of three kinds of things that we comment on sometimes: material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, and control deficiencies. Material weaknesses it's a deficiency or combination of deficiencies that exists such that there's a reasonable reasonable possibility the financial statements could be misstated on a material basis. So those are not good to have. A step down from that is a significant deficiency, which is less severe than a material weakness, but still important enough that we want to call it to your attention. Finally, there are control deficiencies, the lowest level, and those are things that we might just talk with Linda about. So what we've got this year is a significant deficiency, and well, let me go through the reports, and then we'll talk about that one finding. The next report is the independent auditor's report on compliance for each major federal program required by the uniform guidance. I've been through this with all of you that have been here before. The federal government requires us to do this single audit, and there are very prescribed rules for how we do that and what we do. We look at compliance for each major federal program, make sure the district is spending the money in accordance with the grant requirements. And in our opinion, the district complied in all respects, all material respects, with all of those requirements. We do have to mention the significant deficiency later on here in the report as well, because it kind of exists over everything. And that will take us to the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, sometimes called the CFA. This is the federal money that the district spent this last fiscal year, all the various programs and so forth. That's followed by the schedule of findings, question, cost, which is kind of a summary of all of the things I just said. You know, no material weaknesses, a significant deficiency, no non-compliance. There were no question costs either. So, and then it does get into the actual finding. And basically what happened here, as most or all of you know, there was a loss of a staff member during part of the fiscal year, and that caused the payroll to be prepared, processed without the independent review that would normally happen under the system if you were fully staffed. And that's the finding that we've got, is that there was no review. I will say there were no question costs, like I said, with our review. So that's a positive. And Linda, I think you're going to talk about a corrective action plan for this when I'm done. Is that right?
Yes, I have a correction action plan following this for the board.
Yes, because that has to be submitted as well. Then we have the summary of prior audit findings and what's happened with those. The first one of those from last year was fully implemented, taken care of. The second one is essentially the same finding that we have this year, that some reviews didn't happen because of lack of staff. Then the last part of the report here is the part in accordance with Oregon state regulations. The state asks us to look at a list of different things that are all bulleted on here. And nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe the district wasn't in substantial compliance with all of the state of Oregon requirements. So that was pretty quick, but again, in my experience, that's what most school boards want. So happy to take questions of any kind or expand on anything you want to talk about.
Questions,
No
for
questions.
Mr. Gillette? Richard, question?
I have a question. I can't tell if your audio is out though. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you well.
Okay, thanks. My question, I was trying to find this on my copy here, but I can't. The out of compliance from previous year, that is the same as the one this year. What was the corrective action last year on that?
Same thing as you're going to see after we're done with this, Christy. So this September payroll had already happened when audit happened last year. So it's really a continuation of last year's finding, knowing that it was corrected for this year. So the corrective action, I'll just speak to it now, is that if we don't have a payroll HR person, normally they run the payroll and I check it before we pay people. Without a second person last September, I just had to get it done and out. From now on, if we have that situation, then Ginger, the superintendent, will be reviewing the information.
And that process was not in place last year then?
No, there was a lot going on last September. I couldn't get payroll out without, Ginger didn't have 2 days to look over my stuff.
Yeah. I just was trying to, I couldn't find that language in the report, but thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I will say that is not an unusual circumstance for in an audit. We frequently, we're in after the end of the fiscal year, so things that we find, have already bled over into the following fiscal year. So it's pretty common for findings to come up 2 years in a row before they go away completely.
And Christy, I don't think you were here, but in 2021, we actually had 2 changes in that position. We had a person leave and then a person leave again, and the next person leave. So it got a little convoluted over the 16 months or something.
Yeah, I saw that in your note, their corrective action note. Are we gonna move to the corrective action? I guess I have a question about filling that position, but I don't know if that's the right time.
I think the board needs to approve audit first.
I'll hold my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to vote on the approve the audit report, correct?
I make a
Yes.
motion that we approve the audit report as presented by TKW.
One second.
Okay, we have an emotion, we have a motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the report. Any discussion on that? Okay, we'll go for it. We'll proceed with the vote. Bill?
Aye.
Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Did we lose Richard?
I don't know. Richard, are you there?
I lost him.
Okay.
He's on.
Richard, one more chance to vote on the audit report.
His microphone's probably in the tow truck.
Is he getting towed? Okay, we'll skip Richard and chair votes for passes. Let's go on to corrective action plan, Linda.
Yes, let's do that. So this is another thing we need for your approval on. So we've discussed the situation and the fact that we had personnel turnover. And then Christy, to your question, that position has been posted and opened for a while. We so far have only gotten 3 applicants and only one of those has some payroll experience. So as with every other position, we're looking at what to do next with that. I believe when Ginger gets back, we'll have that discussion. I think we're going to interview the one person.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
It was suggested that the least tenured board member have to do it, but since that's me, I rejected them.
No offense, Bill, but you may create more problems than it's worth.
I always thought you get assigned jobs when you don't, or you're not in attendance, right? So.
Yes. Glenn?
I'll make a motion, we accept the corrective action plan as provided by staff for the out of compliance notice.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the corrective plan for the audit finding. We'll if there's any discussion, we'll proceed with the vote. Bill,
Aye.
Ricardo,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
and chair votes for. Thank you, Linda, for once again being an awesome business manager and taking care of that. We're very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And before I go, I just want to say thank you to Linda as well for a clean audit. We always appreciate that, appreciate serving the district, and hopefully next year we'll be sitting down in person to go over all of this, I hope. So thanks again. You all have a good night.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, Pharrell.
Thank you and your team very much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Would it be permissible to go back now that Richard's back on connection and ask him about it?
Oh, yeah. Richard, give us your vote. We voted on an audit as presented.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then Linda, I skipped the business and budget appropriations review. Could we do that now?
Sure. Let me get my summary up. So this has been a very interesting start of November so far. First of all, we haven't got any tax money in yet, which is interesting, but it happened last year too. It'll come, I'm sure of that. I think they may have posted something today, but I didn't have time to look at it. I updated the salaries and associated payroll costs, which is, as you know, the biggest amounts for our district over the year. That's going to wiggle around a little. We're still trying to hire. Things aren't set. We're not finished with license negotiations. So those numbers are there, but I wouldn't count on them as being close to perfect. So they're gonna keep moving. As I mentioned about the 17,000 less students for enrollment for the state school fund monies, 65 districts redid their numbers. A lot of the large districts did theirs. Portland Public had a 4.5% decrease in their enrollment. That's huge when they're probably close to 10% of the enrollment over the state. So that's a really big number. So I did ours over because we were down to 68 to 70 people. So what we were all worried about is in some of the meetings we've been in, some people were saying, well, we're up, we're down. And so we weren't sure if the big players were up, that was going to cause our funding to go down per ADMW. Well, as it turned out, the big players were down. And so therefore that and the fact that the transportation money isn't as much as they expected, they're going to give us per person, it's up about $170 per ADMW. So for North Marion, instead of a loss, which is what I was expecting, we have a gain of about 200 and some thousand. Now, they're going to look at this all again December 31st after we put in numbers again, and I expect it to change. The other piece I haven't had time to look at, and the numbers are almost final, is our numbers from last year for 2021, which they will adjust that in May. So there still could be an adjustment up or down for last year, but I'll keep watching and doing as much as I can to get us towards the end goal of having some money at the end of this year. So any questions for me?
It's crazy times.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you the tax assessor,
Yeah.
so they should be giving it to you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Linda.
We'll move on now to the OSBA elections for positions 11 and 12 that represent Marion County, our area. The openings are for the Board of Director, the representative for Marion County, for the Legislative Policy Committee, and the official ballot, I think, only gives us
one.
It's like a good old North Korean ballot, it only gives us one choice per,
One choice per.
yeah. So, but it's nice to see Anthony Medina on
Yeah.
there, he's our Woodburn colleague, and, so, does anybody have any discussion on
I
this?
make a motion, we approve each position for the single candidate on the OSBA ballot as a board.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the OSBA elections positions 11 and 12. Is there any discussion or questions on that? Okay, we'll move to a vote. Bill,
Aye.
Ricardo,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
chair votes for.
So Diane, you'll submit the ballot for us. right?
Diane does
You'll
that.
submit the ballot for us.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. Okay, and we have our OSBA final meeting.
Not OSBA.
No, I'm sorry, I put that wrong. What was it? What is-
Oh, yeah,
Lost.
second reading and adoption. Okay.
I can't come back on I don't know how to, I'm a Mac person, I don't know how to use Windows, I can't find a back bar. Okay, so I'm just going on with this. OSBA policy, second reading and adoption.
For the electronic communications.
For the electronic communication system, IIGBA-AR. And we have that posted. The
Yeah.
changes were what we discussed last time,
No other
in the
changes.
brackets, no others.
I can speak to this. Ginger, Greg, and I all three worked on this after following the October 11th board meeting. So it was beginning like at 17 pages, there was a lot of strikeout, which we accepted. We resolved all the brackets pertaining to, well, I would just scroll down a little bit more. Unfortunately, you're on the wrong one. Can you click on the link, Linda, that takes you to Google Drive? That link right there. This won't take long. So we'll just show you kind of really quick what our considerations were. Kind of following some of our current policy. The forms that we're gonna have required to be signed, they had put a parent letter out there. We decided we're gonna put information in our InfoSnap online registration process instead. It asks for you to have like your auditors who are on site, or your project managers, or your bond, your Willamette ESD people, your presenters, and everyone sign a form every time they came on that we could use our internet. So we thought, no, we're just gonna add the language back. To be honest with you, I'm not really quite sure what page that is, but it is shaded, and then the yellow is what we have asked to add. So there we go. So we, I feel really cleaned it up, and it'll be efficient.
Okay, I'll make a motion that board approve for second reading and adoption policy IIGBA-AR as presented, electronic communication system summary.
Second.
Here we have a motion and a second to approve the policy presented to us tonight. Is there any discussion on this? Any questions? No, the policy. Okay, hearing none, we will proceed with our vote. Bill,
Aye.
Ricardo,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Aye.
and chair votes for. So we passed that. And the next one is the district change to our academic calendar revision. Sherry, do you want to present that to us? Thank you.
I think the presentation speaks to the need, and you've heard other information here tonight that explains a little bit more about why we're making this request for an additional day. January 3rd would provide plenty of time for families to seek necessary childcare. That's to the winter break for families if they want to extend their break. And so for the reasons mentioned in the presentation and presented here this evening, we request that January 3rd move from a student instructional day to a professional development day.
Thank you. I mean, I guess, my question, my comment about this is, I realize that it's a drop in a bucket that needs filling, and it's not gonna fill up the bucket, but, it's helpful, and, yeah, so, any other comments or questions on this before we? For sure.
Yes, this is Richard. I just had a question about what expectations there are, if any, about how this time is going to be used.
There have been plans submitted by each building about how the day will be spent, but really it is to give teachers time to plan and prepare for the most effective instruction possible for our students at this point in time. Understanding that for many of our teachers, their planning time has been has shifted by their ability to help out as a substitute teacher. In classrooms, we have not had enough substitutes, but this is a time for teacher teams to plan together and for the collaboration of our professional learning time so that we can provide aligned and the best instruction possible for our students.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the calendar revisions for the 2021-2022 academic year as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the district calendar revision, adding January 3rd as a professional development, is that what we're calling it, professional development day? Are there any more questions? Okay, we'll vote now. Bill?
Aye.
Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, chair votes for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, board, very, very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, so that's the end of our agenda. I would kind of just like to ask the board, you know, in the past years, we have visited, taken time to visit the buildings and have a schedule to visit the schools. And I think it would be, if it's not too burdensome on the schools facility, on the districts, for us to be able to go in and see the students and what learning is looking like right now, post-pandemic, and how things have changed. We can coordinate later, but about maybe a good time to do that and to schedule some days.
I think there's restrictions.
Visitors.
There's
Yeah.
restrictions that heavily weigh in here on that.
Well, what can you give us more information on that, Bill? Can you?
Well, I would just say that, you know, as board members elected to govern the schools, I think, you know, kind of that notion of essential visitors or an essential type of a volunteer, which you are, and usually come under those categories, and we can set up the conditions. It makes sense to me, you know, with Ginger's, you know, recommendation that we could set up opportunities to visit.
Yeah.
I think the end, I would love to have you at the high school and you see how folks are doing.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yeah. I think we appreciate that. Did you guys have anything else to bring up tonight?
No, you know, I'll speak to our public comment just for a second, because I'm on the OLED board, that we're up about 30% in our membership taking, what's the right word? Personal,
Mental health.
mental health benefits, I will say, which is a significant increase across the state. People reaching out for EAP services, and with Kaiser, it's called something else, but it's basically that stuff. So that level of increase in 1 year is significant, and we're recognizing that at the OED board and looking at ways to improve on that. And not improve, but improve the services and what's needed to address the concerns of our employees. I'll also point out that we did have a OSBA meeting. We had about, I don't know, 45 board members, and I brought it up that, reminding board members that we are employers and we're responsible for the mental health and well-being of our employees, and that was well recognized by board members around the state. But limited in what we can do about it, right, from our board members. We would all love to do a lot for it, but it's hard to figure out what to do. So working and collaborating to try and figure out with administration how to best do that is something I think we can all support.
That'd be good feedback. You get kind of categorized what the nature, categories of services that are being accessed.
I do. I didn't bring any of that data because I wasn't.
Right,
I could have.
yeah.
But it's kind of been interesting being on the OED board on how that money is going around. And just recognizing the fact that there's an issue here that, needs to be addressed, as in the employee well-being needs to be really brought up as a primary focus. We get that. I just make that comment.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, and I'm wondering how we as a board can work with and work to support staff in supporting them in addressing these concerns. And if there's processes in place right now to kind of do a lessons learned and how do we proceed from here, and how, where do we go with this?
I do think we should hopefully get an update on childhood vaccine stuff, how that's going and things, if that's data we can get if we're going to do work here at North Marion, like a clinic or something. I know they had some in Portland just this last weekend, and that is spinning up. And I want to make sure that we have equitable access for our kids and low-income families to those who want the vaccine for their youngers. I don't know what the right word is, 5 to 11. Right. So make sure we're doing what we can to help those families.
Richard and Christy, did you guys have any closing things you wanted to add tonight?
Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute to recognize Ms. Gianella, if I pronounced her name correctly, who spoke during public comment period. Just to say that, I appreciate her taking the time to join us this evening, and I think we are fortunate that we have faculty that care as much about their work as she does, and is as passionate as she is about serving the needs of our students in our community. So I think it's important that we hear from not only parents and members of our community and students, but also teachers and staff. So I appreciate her taking time out to meet with us tonight.
She was fist pumping, so she appreciated that. Richard, thanks. Christy, did you have anything?
No, I think you guys did a great job summarizing. Thanks.
Okay, great. Well, hearing that, we will close our board meeting at this time. Thank you very much.
I'm
sorry.
No, I just might share, I wanted to recognize Sherry and her staff, those reports, when she puts them here so concisely and all put together, makes it look really easy, but those are really complex and complicated reports. They continue to get more and more complicated. So thank her for all of the work that she's doing to make them so accessible for us. And Linda, you're a magician. The work that you do, I know how the beginning of the school year is anyway, let alone I'm trying to work through an audit and under some of those conditions this year when you didn't even have your office half the time when you were trying. So
Thank you, Bill. I don't really like the word magician when you're an accountant. They don't usually go together.
Good point, yeah, very, very good point. And if you're looking for, vacation action tomorrow, our girls soccer team is playing down at Hidden Valley tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and our boys team is over at Paloma, or at Crescent Valley High School at 7 o'clock, playing Paloma tomorrow night. And thank Mitch too for braving the trip down to Phoenix on Saturday, to support our boys down there, and our teams down there. So we brought good luck. So I think he's going to Crescent Valley tomorrow night to help us out again.
Well, I heard the girls aren't getting back till like 3 a.m. or something. 1, oh, okay.
So anyway, just some outstanding work by your staff to be recognized.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, I think everybody's doing outstanding work. And I was just telling Sherry earlier, I think right now it feels like we're just bailing the boat. And that's about the best we can do right now, is just staying afloat. And I mean you guys. So thank you for, going above and beyond and being here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay.